All right, good morning, everybody. We actually have a decent amount of movement on the overnight, so we will have to update our trade plan here a little bit. So last night we talked about holding above 700. We were looking for 77 and 807, and then holding below 700, we're looking for 73 and 605. 605 was the bottom to the tick. That is that initial gap level. The other gap level would be kind of where the bottom is. So kind of that entire candle is the gap level. So there you go on the first test of that gap, the upper gap level being tested damn near to the exact tick there. All right, let's see. How do we want to update this? Let's say... I think we'll say like 53 to 55. So holding above 55. We're going to look for that value retrace into 73 and 701. And then holding below the top of the gap, we're going to look for the low of the gap, which is around 65.40. And then we have some value levels around 17. Last night on my trade plan, I was talking about how we were waiting to see how that middle of the capital B was being respected, whether the sellers controlled that or not. And I think now it's pretty clear they do, because we could not find any value there. And now we have that momentum shift, which we could say there's a point of origin there as well. So now it's pretty clear that the bears on this Friday, they are protecting that profile and pushing for lower value. So today would be more of a lowercase b with a bearish bias. All right, pretty much the same thing on NASDAQ. The trade plan is kind of playing out because of that push down on the overnight. So we do need to adjust this a little bit. So we'll say holding above 24,800, which is the value low. We're going to look for that value high at 936. And then we have kind of the overnight high around 2550. Holding below the gap here, let's say the overnight low is 502. We'll look for that gap at 443, and then the low of that gap is 158. All right, it's marking out a few levels here. A lot of sell pressure on the open here so far following that lowercase b bearish imbalance. Not seeing like an overnight fade or anything like that. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Scott, Future, Jeremy. I appreciate that, Scott. I'm glad you enjoyed the Q&A. I will have that video cut up today, so it will be a lot easier to follow along for you guys that couldn't watch it live. I'm going to cut out all like the giveaway stuff and like any long pauses and stuff like that. Just clean it up a little bit. So it should be fully edited by like later today. Keep an eye on those 30-minute lows being tested here. So far being wicked. A little bit of a sweep. Good morning, Jeremy, Marcel, Ordinary, James, Tamer, Ram, Curtis, Caleb. Good morning, Boat, Larry, Roman, Dave, Greg, Faraj, Michael, Nerd, C-Mac, Jose, Nitro. Good morning, eBay, Peter. Good morning, Trevor, DS, Hugh, Tarnation, LDT, Adam, Fernando. Appreciate you guys being here. I'm getting a little bit of lag on Rhythmic servers. Am I going to make a video on how to make a pre-market plan? Probably not, because I do it every single day on stream. It's like when people ask me like to make a video on where my levels come from. I do it literally every single morning, so you'll catch up on it or pick up on it. Good morning, Adam, Churchill, Joan, Yusa, Linus, Morris, Broccoli, Brad, Bobby, and Fernando. Good morning, everybody. For you guys that won Discord access yesterday on the Q&A stream, we're still getting lag here on these servers. What's going on? It is coming from Rhythmic, not from Addis. Sorry, what I was saying is if you guys won Discord access, you'll see that later today. I have sent out the Apex accounts. If you guys won the Apex accounts, I have not sent out the Discord stuff yet. So you will see that later today. Are you guys also seeing Rhythmic issues? Oh, it is a confirmed issue with Rhythmic? Okay. All right, I'm going to pull up my TradingView charts until that is resolved, because that price that we're seeing on Addis is not the accurate price. Yeah, it's saying my rhythmic is still lagging. Are you guys, anybody in here using rhythmic? Are you guys having issues as well? Or should I try to restart my connection? Morning, Victor. Getting a little extended here to the downside. You guys aren't having issues? Okay, let me restart. Man, I'm never saying shit like that on stream again. Every time I say something like that on stream, where I'm like, oh, I don't have issues with this, it's like the next week I have more issues than I've ever had. Oh, you tried to restart and you can't connect? Yeah, it's usually a bad thing to do is try to log out and reconnect, but I'll give it a shot. Well, we might be okay. I don't think so. It's not moving. Yeah, it's down. All right, back to trading view. Why it's good to have multiple data feeds. Thankfully, I have my Tradeovate feed, which does not. I mean, I'm not gonna say. I'm not saying it. You guys know what I'm gonna say, but I've got my Tradeovate feed. Morning, Angelo. Still sitting right on the top of that gap level. So the gap is kind of the entire candle. Depends on what time frame you're looking at. We're right at the top of that level. Yeah, my connection is still fried. And they want to take the markets 24/7, by the way. They can't even get their servers to work as of now. me try to disconnect it and reconnect. Yeah, it's fried. Oh, it connected. Is it working? Nope, still fried. All good. We don't really need it too much right now. Anyways, just pretty much a standard standard push down, nothing crazy about it. Just adding my VWAPs to TradingView here. Thirty-minute pivot being rejected. Very obvious downtrend for now. A little extended. You are riding that lower band. No, I don't think it's Addis because people are saying that their other connections are working. It is very rare for it to be the platform. Like, it doesn't matter what platform you're on. If you're on, like, Quant Tower or NinjaTrader or Addis, it's rare for the data issue to be coming from the platform. It's almost always coming from the data provider. Like I said, it's all good. There's not really a whole lot to look at here anyway. You're in a very obvious downtrend. We're going to keep an eye on those candle highs on the 5 minutes. Keep an eye on the 30-minute highs. We're watching that ADMA. If none of that stuff breaks, then we are looking for that gap to be filled in. It's not Addis, it's happening on NT for me, yeah. Yeah, very common for it to be a data provider thing. There has been a lot of crazy action recently, a lot of volatility spikes, a lot of big boys trading, so the servers are probably just getting fried. It's been bad this year. This year has been the worst year for sure. I guess thinking back to last year, it's probably not true to say that because people were really having a lot of issues with Rhythmic. I remember people used to come into my chat and complain like every day, and I'd be like, I don't know how to help you guys. I'm not having issues on my end. but now I'm having issues. Yeah, it's always good to have a second data feed, whether that's Trade of 8 or Trading View. As much as I harp on Trading View and I give it a hard time, they might be slow, like they're not the fastest data, but their data rarely goes down. And now I'm jinxing it. I shouldn't say this. But their data is pretty, their uptime is pretty good. They're just a little laggy and a little slow. Like, it's rare to see them completely just not working. No, it's not CQG. That's Trade of 8. Trading View has their own data feed that I believe they get directly from the broker. But yeah, it's slow, but it's not too bad. Trying to put in the higher low here, trying to break that ADMA, keep an eye on that daily VWAP and around that 24, around 15. That'd be around 518 on NASDAQ. Little 5-minute pivot, sweeping the bottom as well. Yeah, CQG is good as well. It has little hiccups now and then, but it rarely completely drops. Here's the bounce back into VWAP. There is a very wide zone between the daily and session VWAP. It's about a 20-point range. So it's hard to tell if they're going to respect the daily or if they want to go to the session VWAP, right? Because that's going to be a very large move. What are you talking about, Sean? Is it back yet? I don't think so. Let me try to reconnect it again. No harm in doing that because it doesn't work anyway. Yeah, it's still down. That's one job I could not imagine doing, is being like IT and having to deal with little issues like this quite literally as your job every single day. More Lucio? I'm in IT, we always say restart your computer, yeah. Breaking through that first VWAP here, this is the problem I talked about. This is that danger zone between the two VWAPs where you don't really know what's going to happen. It's kind of a wide 50-50 zone. And right now, that zone is very wide. It's like 20 points. On NASDAQ, that is over 100 points. So be very careful in this little zone between the VWAPs here. You got into Rhythmic? Let me see. Nope, mine's still frozen. That pivot on the 5 minute, the top left, or sorry, the top right chart, is pulling back into the trail here. 1 minute trail's flipping green. Yeah, the problem is I'm connected, but the data is just not coming in. Keep an eye on that session VWAP coming up at 35. Yeah, you can tell they're really struggling because normally when I connect to Rhythmic, it's like instant. It's taking a long time to try to connect. Yeah, I can't get back in as well. This time it's not letting me reconnect. Here comes that session VWAP at 35. NASDAQ, it's the yellow line, the 52 one. Yeah, I'm sure it's working for some people, not working for some people. It's not one of those things where it just doesn't work for everybody. There's nothing we can do about it. We just gotta wait for it to work. I don't trade on Rhythmic, so it doesn't really affect me too much. Failing that trail in the 5-minute. Front running VWAP a little bit. If you guys missed the Q&A from yesterday, you can either wait until later today. I should have those edits made where I cut out a lot of the downtime. Or you can just watch it now and kind of skip through it. It's up to you. But I should have the cut up version done by later tonight. Depends on how long it takes YouTube to process the edits. I messaged my friend to see if the main video is going to be ready for tomorrow. He hasn't responded yet, but when he does, I'll let you guys know. It will either be tomorrow or Thursday. Keep an eye on that VWAP. There's also a pivot there. Good morning, Sam. Roman said, looks a bit too aggressive to be a bear flag, or for a bear flag. Yeah, it's a bit aggressive, yeah. It's starting to slow down a little bit. Wouldn't be surprised if it turns into a vertical. Yeah, it's kind of aggressive for a vertical. It's holding above the ADMA. Hey, Nitro, I'm glad you like it, man. Yeah, it's a very hard series to make. It's by far the hardest series I've made on this channel. Just in terms of how I make content. You guys know me, I'm usually like a just press the button and kind of info dump, and I don't really do a lot of scripting, or I don't like plan everything out ahead of time. I'm just kind of picking a topic. I do it like TED Talk, like where I'm just, well, I guess it's not a TED Talk because TED Talks are very structured. Scratch that. I do it like, I don't know, it's kind of like a podcast or something where it's not really scripted. You're just kind of pressing the button and you're just talking, right? But this series, I can't really do that. This series, I kind of have to structure it in a very certain way, or it doesn't make any sense. So I'm glad you guys are you guys are liking it because it's definitely not the easiest to make. And I know some people are probably like, why don't you just make the whole series in one video? Well, you guys are going to see why when the series is over. It's going to be like 10 hours worth of content. So it's not really possible to make in one video. Because each video is going to be like an hour long. Then we have like an hour plus of the Q&As. So probably more than 10 hours to be honest. Probably like 15. Keep an eye on that session VWAP coming up very soon. Yeah, it's exactly what I mean, Roman. It's really hard because, like yesterday in the Q&A, if you guys weren't there, we had the same question asked like 3 or 4 times about how do I like use these concepts to confirm levels? Like, how do I know when the level is being held or if it's being respected? And I can't answer that question until the end of the series. Because that's not going to make sense until you've watched my order flow content. By the way, we are rotating here. The rotation is looking for 43, which is basically... Actually, no, it's not. I thought it was where VWAP was, but VWAP's actually right here. VWAP is 35. So if we break VWAP, that value high rotation is 43. If you guys are wondering why I don't have my ADIS charts up, rhythmic data is down for a lot of people, and I'm one of those people, unfortunately. I had my streamer privileges for a long time. You guys always had issues, and I didn't have issues, and now I have the other side of it. Momentum kind of topped out on the Momo here. We'll keep an eye on a possible bear div. You did have a bull div on the 30-minute, which is coming up on the target. Whenever you have a bull div or a bear div, you always target the trail. That trail is coming up very soon. You had a 5-minute pivot with a bull div. Already hit your trail target. Your trail target was 28. Five-minute pivot on the bottom on NASDAQ as well. Trail target has been hit. 30-minute trail just above VWAP. Yeah, I don't need my ADIS charts to trade. It helps a lot. But I don't need rhythmic to trade. I trade on Trade of 8, which uses CQG. I traded for many years without like Addis and the style of charts that I'm using on Addis, like the delta flow and stuff like that. It feels a little bit weird going back to it, but it's not the end of the world. It's not exactly a do not care zone because we're around VWAP. Whenever you're around VWAP, you want to pay attention a little bit. You're also getting close to the value high. The value high is always a level you want to pay attention to. Which I could put a volume profile on this chart over here. Yeah, there are single prints above. Let me show you here. I think we filled in all the local ones, but we have single prints way above up here. Yeah, there was a nice bull div on the 5-minute on ES and NASDAQ. Keep it on that 30-minute trail coming up at 48 here. This is a lowercase b, so the most optimal place for the sellers to slap it back down would be that value high, right? If they lose the value high and they do not protect it, then that upper tail is extremely weak, and you can start retracing that upper tail. You can see momentum starting to roll over a little bit here. Yeah, I think Powell was speaking at like what 11 or something like that. Let me see. 12:30, 12:20. I haven't been looking at the calendar recently because of the shutdown. But yes, he is speaking at 12:20. Oh, just made a noise. Connection failed. Oh, it connected that time. Is it back? Nope, still down. So even when it connects, the data is just not coming in. Here is the value high and trail on the 30-minute. So far, ignoring the session VWAP, kind of bouncing off of it. Coming up on the session VWAP on NASDAQ around 46. Is it a capital B? I wouldn't say so. No, I think it's a pretty obvious lowercase b. You have a very large node on the bottom, and then an upper tail. Value high being protected, which they really need to protect. So lowercase b is imbalanced to the downside. If they do not protect that value high, it becomes like an overnight fade, and you start going against that tail. Could be a bear flag into VWAP still on NASDAQ. They have not reclaimed that session VWAP, putting in a bear div on momentum. Same with ES 1 minute as well. This is a very strong trend here. You do have that ADMA being respected pretty much every single candle. while we have some downtime here, I wanted to clarify the giveaway stuff because it was a big confusion, a lot of confusion on the Q&A yesterday. The giveaways for the series that we're doing, it's not just at the end of the series. We're going to be doing them throughout the entire series. So make sure you guys have your... You can take screenshots. Like if you comment on one of the series videos, you get a ticket per video you comment on. So there's going to be 5 videos throughout the series. Each time you comment, you can just take a screenshot, send it to my email. If you're a Discord member, just take a screenshot of like your Discord receipt. Or if you don't have that, you can just send me your Discord name and I can double check that you're in the Discord and you get tickets that way as well. And then for Apex, the same way we do all the other raffles where you guys just send in your receipts, just do that same exact thing. You can send those to my my new email, not my other email. Let me give you the new one. I have this one separated, so it's a lot easier. There you go. It's giveaway.dejabrutrading@gmail.com. But yeah, go ahead and send that stuff whenever you have it so you can get entered for the giveaways throughout the entire series. The only giveaway we're doing at the very end is the laptop. The other giveaways, like the Apex accounts, the Discord access, possibly some Addis accounts, those are going to be during the Q&As and just randomly throughout the series. Oh, it tried to connect again. Let's see. And I think it's still broken. And yep, still broken. Is the giveaway only for new Apex accounts? No, if you're already using my code, just send ones that are in October, basically, like the most recent receipts that you have. As long as you're still using the code, those will count for the giveaway as well. And it's up to 20 tickets for Apex because they allow 20 accounts. The only thing that we exclude is the 25Ks because I don't want people to just sign up for a bunch of 25Ks, the cheapest account, just to get entered in the giveaway. And I'd never really recommend the 25Ks. The 50Ks are like the lowest I recommend. We have our sizing guide on the 50Ks and we have our sizing guide on the 250Ks. Yeah, the size doesn't matter. It's 1 ticket per account, no matter what, as long as it's above the 25K, basically. But yeah, as long as you're using code BREW, just send me the receipts. If you can possibly put them all in one email, that would be best. I don't want to be spammed. Yeah, that's what I've been doing, Fatal. I've been disconnecting entirely. Let me give it one more restart. I'll restart Addis entirely. But yeah, like I said on the Q&A, guys, sorry for like the jankiness of the giveaways. I don't really have a better way to do them. It's like the easiest way I can do it and keep track of everybody. In the future, I'll come up with some better plan on how to do it. But right now, this is the best way. Is it possible to partner with another prop firm? It is possible. I just don't do it. I prefer to stick with just Addis at the moment. I don't have an exclusive contract or anything. I can freely do whatever I want. I just choose to stick with them exclusively because I don't really want to push a bunch of prop firms that I don't use. Yeah, I'm still locked out. I'm still locked out of Rhythmic, unfortunately. Yeah, you can just take a screenshot that you commented on the video and then just send it to my email. That'd be the easiest way to do it. And YouTube has been really weird with the comments recently. Like it just held your comment about the bulldog. I don't really know why it held that. Okay, slicing through VWAP here on NASDAQ as well, so neither one is accepting VWAP as a... Yeah, it's like blocking it exactly. The sellers are not accepting VWAP right here. It was doing that yesterday, actually, during the giveaway. Some numbers you guys were picking, it thought like were weird numbers, and it just held them for review. It's just randomly holding messages for review, which means I have to either block them or let them through. Yeah, to fully answer your question, you can take screenshots as the videos are coming out. You don't have to wait for the all 5 of them. Whenever you have time to watch the video and put a comment down. And that was designed for you guys to be putting in comments that are like questions, right? For the Q&A. So if you guys have a question, don't just make up a question if you don't have one. But if you have a question, that's what that was designed for. So you guys can ask your question in the comments. That could be like your ticket to get into the giveaway. And I could use those questions for the Q&A. But like I said, if you don't have a question, you don't have to just make one up. You can just put any comment you want. But preferably, if you guys have a question, that would be better. All right, no change in structure here, guys. We are not accepting VWAP as a sell level. We are not accepting the value high as a sell level. They are going into the upper tail here. The next major level that could stop us would probably be around like 70 to 73. Oh, is it working now? Let's reload our charts. It might be working. All right, it's finally working. So what did we miss? Let's see. There were a couple of block trades on the low. A little bit of a cluster around 40. And that's kind of it. We didn't really miss anything. Couple of point of origin levels above. We have one at 72, one at 93, and one at 12. I would not call this a vertical distribution, by the way, because look at how strong it is. It is staying above the ADMA pretty much the entire time. And the delta is following price pretty much bar by bar. Should you set up a YouTube account to ask questions? If you want to get entered in the giveaway that way, like if you want those 5 tickets for like commenting on the videos and whatnot, then yes. If you want to just ask questions like during the Q&A, you can just ping me in Discord during the Q&A and I can answer them there. But yeah, if you do want to get entered in the giveaway with those 5 tickets, then I would, yes. I would like to make exceptions, but every time I try to make exceptions for giveaways, it just becomes a headache. I just want to keep everything as streamlined as possible. They should email you every time you sign up for an account, and it should have like an invoice number. It should say like, this is your account size, and here's your invoice number. Keep an eye on this 30-minute close. This is going to be a nasty close here. There's going to be a lot of single prints going down to 40. Nerd, it's best if it has everything, like it has the account size and everything. But obviously, don't show me like any personal details or anything. Like I don't need your account and your password or anything like that. Single print's going down to 39, possibly 40. Yeah, see, YouTube just held your comment. You said gotcha, and YouTube held that for review. Their auto mod is going crazy recently. It actually cost somebody the raffle win yesterday. I had somebody email me and they said they put a number in chat, and I missed it, and I missed it because the auto mod blocked it. But I went back and checked, and they were 100% right. They did put in the number that won, which is very unlucky. But I did honor it. I gave them the win anyway. But yeah, that's just crazy that the YouTube mod is doing that. Yeah, no problem, man. That's completely that's not your fault. That's 100% on YouTube there. Thankfully, YouTube has like the live chat replay, so I could go back and double check. Keep an eye on the 24 EMA. This will be the first retest of that 24 during this entire uptrend. It is very stable up till now, very strong, holding above that 80 EMA, delta following price bar by bar. 5-minute lows being protected. There's basically no sell pressure until you had the single prints get created. Now it looks like they might want to repair those. They've already repaired a couple, going back down to 39 or 40. I was looking at my channel last night when I was doing a lot of that editing stuff, and I didn't realize we haven't been uploading shorts for that long. Our shorts, we stopped uploading them around like what, March? So it's been like what, 7 months since we put out some shorts. Pretty excited to get back into those once this series is over. We're gonna take a little break on long form content, and we'll get back into pumping out a bunch of shorts. Shorts are a lot easier because I can just make them during the live stream, and then I can have my buddy edit them, and they're only like 2 to 3 minutes long, so it's not going to take him hours and hours to edit. And I think they honestly provide just as much value. Very aggressive trend here, not even able to test that 24. 5-minute lows still being protected. I think what I'll do as well is after this series is done, I'm going to give the entire series to train the Athena bot that I was working on. Once Athena is trained on all this series, I'll probably post it in the live stream for you guys. A little bit of a micro pullback candle so far. Very strong impulse candle. And then you have like a battle candle, right? A back and forth micro pullback. Now, it's not a confirmed micro pullback until it closes like a doji like that. So it doesn't have to stay that way, which, as I'm saying that, here you go. You have block trades coming in. Our next level is 73 and then 701. That will finish the value retrace of Monday, of yesterday. Oh, by the way, my buddy said the video should be ready by tomorrow, so we should have it uploaded on the normal time tomorrow at 4. I think you guys will like this second video because it will answer a lot of your questions about the first video. Because realistically, the first and second video were kind of the same thing. I just had to break them into 2 sections. Another extremely wide initial balance. Nearly 100 points. It's like a 70-point initial balance. So if you don't hold outside of that immediately, it's going to be very hard to have an afternoon break of that initial balance. Typically when it's very wide, it likes to balance inside of it. I couldn't tell you, man. I don't know how the other platforms see the block trades. All I know is the block trades come in the exact same way on NinjaTrader and Addis, and back when I used Quant Tower, they were basically coming in the same way as well. But those are the only 3 that I've really used block trade indicators on. Because we had such a stair-stepping pattern on the way down, we have a lot of origin levels that we could use. So around like 72, 94, 712, overnight high as well. We're kind of just breaking them one by one. Buyers are just too strong. They're not really stalling on any of these levels. Like, here's a good example of what we talked about during our Q&A yesterday. And we have such a strong trend here, you can't really find any other origin levels besides the bottom one, because none of these highs are creating a shift in structure. You could have almost put one here, because it tried to put in a shift of structure, but it didn't. This level created a very obvious shift. Whether that be those 2 shapes that we always look for, right? They look like a letter U or a letter V. They have the cupping rollover or the very aggressive rollover or flip with like that V shape. And typically those 2 shapes will create almost every single point of origin level. So like this one would be kind of more of a V. It was very aggressive. But we don't really have any of those on the highs. The highs are still maintaining that same trend. Still trying to create that micro pullback candle. If it closes as a top doji, we'll mark out the high, we'll mark out the low, and basically the entire candle becomes a do not care zone. We want to see what happens on the extremes. But we still have half the candle left, so we don't really know how it's going to close just yet. So like I always say with single prints, they are not a trade by themselves. They are not telling you to press the buy or sell button. They are just a zone to pay attention to for a possible trade or for a target for a trade. So like they would be a target for a short up here, but it's not telling you to short. So you still need a reason to short, but then you can target the single prints. People mess that up a lot, where you see single prints come in, they press the button because of the single prints, and they lose that trade immediately. Because you have to understand why or how single prints are being formed. They're being formed because that move is extremely aggressive. So you're just blindly trading against an extremely aggressive move and hoping that it flips. If you're taking a trade just solely based on the fact that the single prints are being formed. And that's a good way to lose money, right? Now, yes, there are markets, like we had this market many months ago, it was probably like 3 to 6 months ago, I can't remember when. But we had that market where almost right away we were seeing those single prints get formed and they were being filled in within like 15 to 30 minutes. Almost every single time. Now, if you see a market like that, then your idea to take the trade right away, it's a little bit stronger, but you still want some kind of a reason to take the trade. Maybe it's like a rollover top or a bear div or whatever, right? You just need a reason. Like right now, the reason could be the sweep. There's a sweep right here. You can't just like see the single prints come in and be like, oh, there's single prints. I'm pressing sell. Oh, I was muted. I was saying, yes, you can say this is a rollover, but it's one of the weak versions because we haven't been seeing that absorption or that very obvious sweep on the high of the rollover. So it's more of a rollover in momentum than like a very strong rollover top with that like absorption sweep. Yeah, I have a bad habit where my phone is right next to my like mic. And I have a habit of like when I take calls, I'll pick my phone up and I'll mute my mic. So sometimes if I pick my phone up, I'll mute my mic just by default and I'll forget to unmute it. We don't look for bulldogs on highs because a bulldog on a high is almost always a like a rollover top or some kind of like bear div or something like that. They are slowly filling in these single prints. They have to go down to around 38 to 40. This is also a variation of a rollover with the POC on the high, which makes it even worse, makes it even choppier. You see how choppy this is? That is why these micro pullback candles are typically do not care zones. They almost always do stuff like this. They're not always like the POC. The POC doesn't shift into them all the time. But they do have that kind of D-shaped rotational chop. You can usually spot that it's forming a micro pullback pretty early in the candle, but it's not confirmed until it closes, right? It's going to close in like 2 minutes. But you always want to look for like a top or bottom doji after an impulse candle. So we have like a very strong impulse, and then we did not immediately see that follow through. So once it started to chop out on the high, it's either going to be a complete reversal back down, right? Or it's just going to start chopping. So if it starts to sell and then it falls off like a D shape, right? If it falls off very quickly, so you tested higher value, you fell off. You tested lower value, you fell off. Falling off, I mean in volume, right? So if you tested both sides and you fell off on both sides, what does that look like? That looks like a D shape. And what do you know about D shapes? D shapes are rotational. They're two-directional. They tried for both sides of the value, and they did not like either side. They like what's in between. They like that middle value. So once this candle closes in 30 seconds, basically what you want to do on like every micro pullback, and this is actually something that I should have actually covered in the first series. Now that I think about it, this is kind of a candlestick pattern. You want to mark out the high, you want to mark out the low. I guess I can cover this in the volume profile section because it's kind of a volume profile thing as well. But you mark out the high, you mark out the low, and then we want to see value building above it or value building below it. If you don't have a node above or a node below, you're just rotating. You're just D-shaped chop. Yeah, there's only a capital D. There's no like lowercase d pattern. That would be a lowercase b, as in boy. The D-shaped pattern is the most like statistical pattern. It's the bell curve. It's the one that makes the most sense to people, right? Turning into a vertical distribution? Yes. Now that we're chopping like this, it is. Look at the buy pressure coming in. Big block of buyers, or cluster of buyers, I should say. 63 to 65. Yeah, almost every market can be placed into a couple of shapes. The bell curve, which is the D shape. The bullish imbalance, which is the P shape. The bearish imbalance, the lowercase b. The double distribution, which is a capital B, which is kind of like what we were on Friday. And then like a trend profile, kind of like today, where it's like it has many, many nodes. It's one directional and it has a bunch of nodes throughout the profile. It's usually known as a thin profile or a trend profile. I believe Dalton in his books calls it a thin profile. But pretty much every single market can be placed into one of those profiles. And from that point, we build our bias, right? That's what I do every single morning. We do this every single stream. We look at the shape, we build our bias, and we say, okay, if this happens, we do this. If this happens, we do this. If this happens, it changes our shape to this, right? It's a very logical way of looking at the market, and it gives you different paths, like different ways to adapt. It's not just like, this is my bias, I have to trade like this. If it doesn't do this, then I'm not trading, right? We're not locking ourselves into a perma bias. We're allowing ourselves to say, if this happens, we do this. If that doesn't happen and it goes this way, then maybe we do this. Okay, now it looks like we're trying to build value above the 66 level. Let's see if they can actually hold above this level. This becomes like a major sweep level, right? Like if it starts to sweep back down, it becomes like a value retrace almost. But yeah, people always make fun of traders that have like multiple plans, I guess you would say. Like traders who are like, if it goes up or if it goes down, people are like, oh, you're just predicting both sides. You're just 50-50, right? But you should have an idea if it goes up or goes down. Why would you only make a plan for if it goes in one direction? Like what happens if it goes the other direction? You just don't have a plan? Good luck with that. I don't know how you're going to manage that, but go ahead. Here comes our first target at 73. And then 701. Why 73 and 701? 73 is the value low of yesterday. 701 is the value high. So right now we're testing yesterday's value. If it stays above 73, it's retracing yesterday's value. You could also target the POC node. And you're seeing why these micro pullback candles are so hard to trade. Because it did give you a little bit of a sweep. It did give you like a bit of a rollover top. It was a weak variation, like we said. But you could say it was a rollover top. But it failed. So now the vertical distribution is coming in because it's ignoring sell signals. And that's why micro pullbacks become do not care zones, because they are very 50-50. They're very choppy until you see which direction of the candle, or which extreme of the candle, I should say, is being taken out. Be very careful on those doji candles after major impulses, because if you think about what's happening, you have a lot of these traders that want to take profit. So you have a lot of profit taking in this candle. And profit taking is very misleading, because people see profit taking and they think like, oh, it's going to flip, it's going to go back down. So just be very careful after impulse candles. A lot of FOMO trading happens after impulse candles as well because people missed the impulse. They're like, oh, I have to get in now. Because there's a lot of FOMO trading, there's a lot of traders that can easily be trapped because they have bad positions. If the impulse is very strong, it could be extended, which we saw here. It could have single prints, it could be outside the bands, whatever, right? Which could cause a little bit more choppiness. Like I said, the 30-minute candle after a major impulse candle, if it has that micro pullback shape, it is very difficult to trade, so you need to be careful. This is not just a 30-minute technique either. It's also a daily technique. If you see this on a daily, you need to be very careful as well. So if you have like a daily impulse candle, which kind of, we had this yesterday, actually, now that I think about it. It wasn't exactly a micro pullback, but it was very similar. Where we had a very strong impulse on Friday, then we had a choppy candle on Monday, yesterday. It wasn't super choppy because the range was so damn wide. So like you could have traded the chop because of how wide it was. But very similar. The day after a major impulse day, you need to be very careful. Let me see if I can find any examples. Kind of back in April, like when you had that very strong impulse, once again on a Friday, and then you had a really large micro pullback doji. Just be careful. Be careful on the following candle after a major impulse. Okay, we are not holding value up here. We are building value. They built value at 69 and 73. They are not holding it. And notice where we are failing. It's our 73 level, damn near to the tick. It's also a point of origin level. Why are we failing 73? Because they do not like yesterday's value. Yesterday's value is acting as a seller node. And that right there is why I constantly have these prior value levels on my charts. And people think that I'm just putting levels everywhere on my chart, and it's just ridiculous how many levels I have. But there you go. That's why. That's why I mark these levels out. They don't always work, right? But it's hard to say that volume profile is like this made up system. These levels are just like coming out of thin air, right? When we see this happen every single week. Seems like order flow trading is starting to pick up traction in the trading community. Yeah, it's been pretty popular for a long time, but it's always been like the advanced way. It's never been like when people get into trading, they're not like, I want to learn order flow. Like, it's not something they jump into. It's always had that kind of like, after you learn a few things, you kind of want to move into it. It does seem like it's beginning to get more beginner friendly, I guess you would say. I think that's just because the tools have gotten so much better. So it doesn't look like you're just looking at the matrix. You can actually read what the hell you're looking at now. Like things like Addis, right? Addis is extremely user friendly. It doesn't take a long time to set these charts up and understand what you're looking at. But back in the day, you go back like a year or two, it's way more complicated, right? So I think that's a big thing. The tools are getting easier. Getting a lot of chop up here because of the POC, right? It's kind of like cause and effect. Like it's kind of both sides. The POC here is here because of the chop, but it's also causing the chop. So it's like the cause and the effect. Yeah, I think what turns a lot of people off to order flow is when people see stuff like bookmap or like the heat maps with like all kinds of flashing colors and all these different levels on the different ticks and all that stuff, the bubbles and all that shit. I think that turns people off to it. What was the best trade for the morning session? The bull div. There was a very obvious bull div with a pivot, and that was the low of day. It was one of our combo signals. We had a pivot with a very obvious bull div, which then turned into a value low sweep and a rotation. Speaking of pivots, we have a top pivot at 73. You're seeing that power of the micro pullback candle here. This one's more powerful because it's the POC. It's always good to show you when the micro pullbacks turn into POC nodes because it's exactly what I said earlier. Even if it's not the POC, if you think about what the micro pullback is, it is a D-shaped profile. It is building that node, right? Where it builds a node, it falls off on the top, falls off on the bottom. So if it's a very strong micro pullback, what is that showing you? It's the POC node. Same exact thing. Finding value in the middle, falling off, falling off. The micro pullback was one of the very first things I started teaching way back in the day, basically with the point of origins. Because they're kind of, they're not exactly the same thing, but they form at the same time. Like this could become a point of origin, right? Because we have this massive impulse up. If it creates a shift in momentum to the downside, this micro pullback would become a point of origin. So they kind of go hand in hand, which is why, once again, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm kind of upset I forgot to go over that in the first video. But I'll go over that in the volume profile video. I'll do like a little recap. It's probably good that I left it out of the first video so I didn't overwhelm you guys on the first one. And I think using the volume profile to explain it will be much better. After what I explained today, do you guys understand what I'm talking about with a micro pullback? Does it make sense? Would you guys be able to identify that on a chart by yourself? This week is pretty rough. This week is basically repairing the lower tail of last week. Are they identified on the 30-minute? Yes, I'd say they're best in the 30-minute, and then if you're a swing trader, the daily is very good as well. They happen on every time frame, so you can see them on like a 5-minute too. It's just a candlestick pattern. So the pattern will happen on every time frame. But to like utilize them in your trading, I think the 30-minute and daily are the best ones. Basically what you'll look for, even on a 1-minute or like a 5-minute, for like a scalping sense, is if you have a very strong impulse candle, whether it's like a news candle or whatever. And then right after that candle, instead of continuing the trend, it begins to stall out. And it puts in a top doji or a bottom doji. And then once that doji closes, that becomes like a do not care zone, right? And kind of as it's forming as well. Once you've kind of seen that it's a micro pullback, it kind of becomes a do not care zone. And then where you do care is like the extremes. You treat it like a value area. You don't care about the middle of it because it's chop. You care about the extremes, the high and the low. You want to see what happens on the high and low. Are you sweeping it? Are you building value outside of it, right? Like, for example, right now, we're sweeping it. So they like this value. This is acting as a magnet. Doesn't mean we're finding lower value yet, but it's acting as a magnet. Once you learn how to visualize and like find these on a chart, you will start realizing that a lot of your trades that you're losing are during these micro pullbacks. Because it's a very common pattern to trap traders. Because it's the FOMO candle. It's the candle that people always trade when they're FOMOing into trades because they missed the impulse. I'm sure there's somebody in here in chat listening right now that did exactly that. I'm sure there's somebody in here that missed this impulse candle. They saw it close, and they thought this would be an easy trade for a continuation trade, which you kind of did get a decent little push there. And then they got in on this kind of chop here. Now, whether they were able to capture that continuation or they got trapped, I can't tell you, but I can definitely tell you there's a lot of traders that took the FOMO trade inside this candle. They also happen a lot, which we're kind of seeing right now, in vertical distributions or downward accumulations. Because same exact thing. Think about what you're seeing on the 1-minute when you have a vertical distribution or a downward accumulation. You have an impulse that started the move, but then you turn it to a choppy move. So what is happening on a micro pullback on a 30-minute? You have an impulse that started the move, and then you're turning into a choppy move. Like I said, once you learn all these concepts that I teach, you start to realize that they all go hand in hand. They're all like the same thing. It's just different ways to look at the same price action. They were actually being decently nice with this break here, because this break and trap gave you a pretty big move. So it actually gave you an opportunity to get out of this trade if you were taking it as like a late breakout. They're not usually that nice. If they're trapping a micro pullback, it's not usually going to give you a trade before it traps it. You're starting to see why this is a do not care zone, right? Look at the 1 minute price action. It's terrible. This could be a rollover top again, but it's a bad variation because it's on the POC. All right, guys, we're going to call it here. Starting to lose my voice already, and it's only Tuesday. We've been talking a lot recently. I will be streaming in Discord the rest of the day, as always. Be careful. Powell will be speaking in about an hour. So you might get a spike in volatility in about an hour. It's going to be around 12 to 12:30. If you guys haven't already, be sure to check out that first video in the series. I also have the Q&A live stream. It's not edited yet. The edited version should be ready by later tonight. So if you'd rather wait for the edited version of the Q&A, then wait for possibly like tomorrow or later today. But the first video is still available. You can check it out. If you guys want to support the channel, you can use code BREW on Apex. It also gets you entered in our giveaway. If you guys want to get entered in that giveaway, here is my email. It's giveaway.dejavertrading@gmail.com. So ways to get entered in the giveaway for the series is either using code BREW on Apex, commenting on the series videos. There's going to be 5 videos, so that's 5 tickets. If you're a Discord member, you get tickets as well. We're going to be doing giveaways throughout the entire series. So just take screenshots of any of that stuff, any of your tickets, and just go ahead and send them to that email, and I'll get you guys added. If you guys won the Discord access yesterday, you'll start seeing some emails from me to get you guys added here in a little bit. So keep an eye on that. If you guys won the Apex accounts, you should have gotten those emails already with those promo codes. But all right, guys, I appreciate you being here. You can check out all our stuff down below. You guys know where to find it. I'll see you guys in Discord, and I will see you guys tomorrow for our live stream. And also, my friend said the edits will be done on the video tomorrow, so we should be able to release the video at 4 p.m. Tomorrow afternoon. But all right, guys, I appreciate you being here. Hit that like button. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.